Hello and a warm welcome to all. Going to just go over a few things today and actually do a video probably in a little bit as well. So there'll be two videos up today. Just helping to place our understanding of Paul in the context of early Christianity and the Gospels. I think I've been over a few of these points before, but one thing I wanted to, reiterate this time is that Paul seems to be a composite character. He's not found anywhere in the historical record, in the written record outside of Christianity, though he does do some quite profound things in the first. If you take the literal story as history, and in places like Acts and so on, he seems to be here, there and everywhere doing a lot of stuff. He's never picked up by Josephus. There are some people that think that there is a connection with Josephus to Paul, and that some people even say that he might be the same person, and there is some credibility behind some of that thesis. And I have actually talked about this in a couple of videos before, towards the beginning of this exercise with this YouTube video. So we're going to have a couple of quotes. Going to leave this one a little bit shorter, and in the next video we're going to be getting into some really interesting stuff, and traits and tropes there exhibited across the early letters and into the gospel accounts as well. Let's say some interesting things about the enemy, the opposer, the devil, and what that might have looked like, what this entity and this concept of the devil might have looked like in the early Christianity, and it's not what you think. Anyway, so here, quoting from D.M. Murdoch in her book, I think this is the Christ Conspiracy. The various Pauline epistles contained in the New Testament form an important part of Christianity, yet these earliest of Christian texts never discuss the historical background of Jesus, even though Paul purportedly lived during and after Jesus' advent and surely would have known about his master's miraculous life. Instead, these letters deal with a supernatural, a spiritual construct found in various religions, sects and cults and mystery schools for hundreds to thousands of years prior to the Christian era. Aside from the brief reference to Pontius Pilate at 1 Timothy 6:13, an epistle widely rejected as post-Pauline, the Pauline literature does not refer to Pilate or the Romans or Caiaphas or the Sanhedrin or Herod or Judas or the holy women or any persons in the gospel accounts or any persons in the gospel account of the passion, and that it also never makes an allusion to them. Lastly, that it mentions absolutely none of the events of the passion, either directly or by way of allusion. Other early Christian writings, such as Revelation, likewise do not mention any historical details or drama. Though Paul also never quotes from Jesus' purported sermons, speeches, parables, prayers, nor does he mention Jesus' supernatural birth or any of his alleged wonders and miracles, all of which one would presume would be very important to his followers. And had such exploits and sayings been known prior to the apostles' purported time, if Paul knew of a miracle-working Jesus, one who could feed the multitude with a few loaves of bread and fish, who could command the grave to open, who could cast out devils and cleanse the land of the foulest diseases, such as leprosy, who could and did perform many other wonderful works to convince the unbelieving generation of his divinity, is it conceivable that either intentionally or inadvertently he would have never once referenced to them in all his preachings? Really interesting to note that. These are documents that seem to convey many things. Paul's letters does convey quite a lot, but it doesn't convey what we would expect to see if Paul was writing a mere maybe couple of decades, say in the 50s. He has no recollection of anything important to the historical Jesus story. He's only talking and resonating with the notions of this grand celestial Messiah in the sky. And this is why it's going to be so interesting that people take note of the next video that I do on princes of the world, the devil, and so on. Again, another quote: why is it that the Apostle Paul, with a single exception of his account of the Last Supper in 1 Corinthians 11, never refers to an incident in the life of Jesus, even when it would have helped his case immeasurably to do so? For example, in his account of his dispute with Peter over Gentile Christians, Galatians 2 and 3, why does he not mention Jesus' cure of the centurion's servant, Matthew 8, 5-13, or the instruction at the end of Matthew's Gospel to go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, Matthew 28, 19-20. Did he not know of these traditions? Could it be that the Gospels come from a source of which Paul was entirely unaware? That's Bill Darlison, the Gospel and the Zodiac, the secret truth about Jesus, page 39. Now, I'm very interested in the astrological overlays in both the Old Testament and the New. There definitely seems to be quite a lot there, and these would have been added, we can assume, after Rome took over the narrative, and as they were so interested in lots of their gods and so on, and the heavens as well, and their gods in the heavens. That's why we have constellations such as Hercules. And yes, we will note readily how much of these overlays in the 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th centuries actually appear to resonate as the story gets going with astrological phenomena. Jesus and the 12, Jesus within the sun, this solar concept of the light, the Messiah, all these references to light and the sun, even in the New Testament. But that's for another day. One thing of note as well, and I'm not sure I've been over this before, I think I might have been, but the Last Supper account, the Lord's Supper account in Paul, gives no reference whatsoever to that supper being on earth, and it tells us nothing of any other people at the event. Paul is just talking of this revelation he had when Jesus was saying directly to him, well, this is what this is, take of my body, take of this wine, this is my body and blood, and so on. It's then augmented, as far as we can tell, in Matthew, and then it becomes the Last Supper before Jesus' crucifixion, the day after, a couple of days after. But every single time you think that you're going to find connections in Paul's epistles, and not just that, but the 5 or 6 other epistles that aren't interpolations, what that we know of, you won't find an historical Jesus. It's so sketchy and so fleeting are the references to an historical Jesus. Now, going back onto Paul, we find some interesting, again, in getting into this notion here that the letters themselves are spread across 150 or so years, and that there are obviously tons of interpolations that go into the epistles, and this becomes really clear with some of the most recent studies done on the epistles. And we might be able to postulate here that Paul himself was a composite character, as I made allusion to in the beginning. I want to show you here in Acts how closely Paul, in a specific a part of Acts, when he goes to the Areopagus in Athens, he looks like he resembles here Socrates. Very interesting. So is this maybe an idea, a propaganda kind of propaganda move to liken our hero Paul to someone that the Greeks knew really well, and basically to mimic his story. So the Greeks would go, oh yeah, this is something I know, this is something I can relate to. It might not be the case, I might be reading into this, but other people have made this, have expounded on this before, and there are certainly some fairly sure parallels in this story. There are 9 I'm just about to go through, and I think I might have covered this before, I'm not too sure, but I just want to do this for your edification now, to show us how maybe Paul's character may also, especially in Acts, which is very mythological in kind of character, that Paul himself might have been a kind of composite character, not strictly fictional, not strictly historical. Okay, now 1, both expound their ideas at Athens' famous marketplace. 2, both then catch the attention of the famous scholars and philosophers of the city, though suspiciously none are named in Paul. 3, they then are taken to a trial in which they are urged to make accounts of and give support for their beliefs. Socrates is a very real and sinister trial. Okay, of course, ends in the philosopher's execution, while Paul's seems more staged and theatrical. 4, both receive revelations and both hear the word of God aiding them through life and in this trial. Both quote poets. 5, so both quote poets. 6, both believe judgment will come from the righteous sons of God. Okay, righteous sons of God. 7, both have decidedly similar philosophy regarding the plebity, both believing in an elite form of governance from a style of godly providence, though via a guiding caste of wise shepherds or philosophy kings. Again, this is parallel here. Think about Paul, his the elitism and the initiatory system really Paul is trying to convey. 8, both are accused of extolling foreign ideas and of gods, causing considerable annoyance to the status quo. Between Acts and sorry, what am I talking about? It's there. Sorry. In 9. Incidentally, for posterity, both Socrates and Socrates' account, of course, is in Plato. Sorry about that. Life of Socrates, I think, by Plato. Incidentally, for posterity, both Socrates and St. Paul end up losing their lives for their beliefs, being remembered as titans in the annals of philosophy and Christianity, respectively. Okay, so again, we see some interesting, just these parallels that keep cropping up in these pieces of literature. I'm going to leave that there, 13 minutes in, I think that's pretty good. We're going to talk next about the princes of this world in another video. Please stay tuned for that one, I think it's going to be quite interesting. Okay, peace out, take care, bye.